So what I want to do is just going to get started here. The first slide is just basically a warning. You cannot unlearn the truth. So once you understand the process that we're going to teach today about charitable gifting of real estate and the power behind it, it's going to be up to you to take some action on it. Mostly the next step for almost everyone, really, especially at the beginning, is just to learn more. This is a sample. This is a tasting of the full course meal, which is to come. But you're not going to get the full course meal today. You're just going to get a sample of it. But you're going to get the knowledge enough to know that this is an actual legitimate way to really make an impact in the community. So this has been around for over 100 years. In 1917, the U.S. tax code was created incentivizing people to give real estate to nonprofits, to qualified 501c3s, so that the nonprofit could receive the benefits, and the incentives for the donors were that they could avoid capital gains tax and they could get a tax deduction against their adjusted gross income. So for a potential donor, a donor to give a piece of property, there's a lot more benefits than just giving cash. Last year, over $9 billion was donated to nonprofits in this country. A total of $454 billion was gifted, but only $9 billion of that came through real estate, which is actually not a lot, especially when you consider the fact that 43% of our nation's wealth, 43% of our country's wealth is tied up in real estate, while less than 3% of our nation's wealth is in cash. So people are donating, the vast majority, 98% of the donations are coming from the cash pocket, which is only less than 3% of our nation's wealth, while only 2% of our wealth is being utilized to give, which it's a very small amount when there's 43% of our wealth tied up in real estate. So I want to ask you, whoever's listening to this right now, if you have a nonprofit in mind, if you work for a nonprofit, if you just have a nonprofit you're passionate about, what would your nonprofit do with $550,000? I want you to really think about that, because a lot can get done with that amount of money. For most nonprofits, that's a transformational donation. What's that, Sam?
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't. I didn't realize I wasn't muted.
So the reason I'm asking what would you do with $550,000 is because that's the average size gift for a nonprofit from a single donation of real estate. On average, a donation of real estate translates into $550,000 to any nonprofit that receives it. We're showing right now on the screen a copy of the book, Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not, written by Cami C.E. Baker. This is the foundational textbook that we work from. Basically, if you were to be able to get your hands on one of these books, read it, digest it, it would shortcut all your education that you would need on how to apply and to benefit nonprofits and yourself. Because what we're into is making money while making a difference. The problem is that, first of all, let's just say that there's 1.5 million nonprofits in the United States. And out of all those nonprofits, less than 0.1% actually accept real estate as a donation. If you were to show up at your local Boys and Girls Club with a donation of $500 in cash in your left hand and a deed to a property worth $500,000 in your right hand, it's very unlikely. It's almost never going to happen that they would actually accept the real estate. They'll take the $500 and thank you for your generosity. The reason is because there's a lot of complexity to accepting a donation of real estate. If you really step back and think about it, there's two ways that most people know about how to accept, or for a donor to give, or for a nonprofit to accept a donation of real estate. There are three ways but very few people know about the third way. And the third way is what we're going to teach about today. But first, I want to go over the first two ways and help you understand why the third way is so important. So the first way, the donor can actually just sell the real estate themselves and give the proceeds of the sale to the nonprofit. In this circumstance, the donor is going to pay all the capital gains tax if applicable. They're going to pay all the taxes associated with the sale of the property, and whatever's left, they'll give to the nonprofit. But like in this scenario, let's say that the property is worth $600,000. There's a $200,000 mortgage on it, which would automatically, you'd assume that would be $400,000 in equity that they could give to the nonprofit, but that doesn't actually translate, because when the donor sells the property, they're going to pay all the taxes associated with it, and they're going to probably collect closer to $300,000. And most likely, donors are going to want to offset what they paid in taxes, so they're going to take out more money from that $300,000 that's left to offset their taxes. So the nonprofit can look at usually getting at about a $200,000 donation in this situation, which if you just looked at it from the outside and didn't know about our third way, you would think that's actually pretty decent. But in this circumstance, it's actually the worst way, because the donor only gets to write off the $200,000 out of a $600,000 property. The nonprofit receives the least amount of value out of this process, and the donor gets the least amount of tax write-offs. It is the most inefficient and the most ineffective way to donate. The second way is simply that the donor can give the property straight to the nonprofit. They just give the property over. And like I said, if the property is worth $600,000 and there's a $200,000 mortgage on it, the nonprofit would then have to come out of pocket to pay off that $200,000 mortgage. And unfortunately, a lot of nonprofits, the vast majority, don't have that type of working capital to offer. On top of that, if the donor requests some money back, if they say, well, look, I only paid $200,000 for this property, I want to give it to you, but I want $200,000 back. Now they got to pay the mortgage of $200,000, and they'd have to grant that donor a $200,000 check to offset their wish to get some money back out of it. So after that, the nonprofit themselves will also be responsible for maintenance, upkeep, anything associated with owning the property, including an unfortunate circumstance like a tornado or a hurricane. They're going to be liable for that property during that situation. So just the process of taking on this ownership will take time and money, which these nonprofits literally almost all will refuse. 99.9% of the nonprofits out there will not accept the property. They just won't do it. And I honestly wouldn't blame them, because it's not a very good way of doing it. It takes too much time. And these nonprofits, their mission isn't to convert real estate into capitals. Their missions are usually, to help cure cancer, to house the homeless, to benefit veterans, those types of things. So there is a third way that you can do this. And the third way is what we're going to talk about right now. So we have a specialized nonprofit whose only cause, they exist solely to help other nonprofits. And the way they help them is by receiving gifts of real estate on their behalf, converting those gifts of real estate into capital, and then granting that capital to the destination nonprofit. So if the nonprofit in question, let's say, for instance, was a Boys and Girls Club, our specialized nonprofit will receive the gift with agreements up front with the donor saying that once this property is liquidated, the proceeds will go then to the Boys and Girls Club. This way, the nonprofit that's going to receive this gift will have no risk at all. The specialized nonprofit takes title and financial responsibility completely. They'll pay off mortgages. They'll do any type of maintenance to the property if it needs to get done for like marketability. They own the property. They are responsible for the property, and there's no need for the nonprofits to accept the real estate itself. They just get the benefits of the proceeds. Now, on average, what happens is so on a $600,000 property that has a $200,000 mortgage. And the third way, our specialized nonprofit would accept the donation of real estate right up front. They would pay off the $200,000 mortgage, and the donor then would receive all their tax benefits on the appraised value of the home right away. So they would be off the title. They would be done. For the donor, this is a great way because they don't have to do any work. All they have to do is get the property appraised. That is it. They get all their benefits right up front, right away, and then now they're no longer responsible for that property. Now, this is a two-step process for the proceeds to get to the donation that's going to be given to the destination nonprofit. The second step is now that our specialized nonprofit has ownership of the property, they list and liquidate the property with one of our real estate agents, for example, like Sam. So Sam brings the donation to the table. Sam's going to be the listing agent. And if Sam can't list it because it might not be in his market, he's going to get the referral fee from another real estate agent in our network. And then once the property is liquidated through our specialized nonprofit grants the proceeds of the sale to the destination nonprofit. Now, in the circumstance, let's say it's a $600,000 home, there's a $200,000 mortgage. So now the specialized nonprofit, once they convert the property to cash, they take an average of between 2 and 10% off the back end. That way, they recover any of their investments to improve the property, and they pay the real estate agent out of that. Last year was actually 5.9%. So they don't even keep 10%. They have to advertise it's between 2 and 10% because different situations they require different value. But this allows any nonprofit to benefit from gifts of real estate. So the nonprofits benefit because they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to spend any time, treasure, or manpower to actually deal with the property, and the donor gets all their benefits right up front. Basically, the property donor donates the property. The specialized nonprofit takes title and responsibility. They then list and liquidate it through our certified charitable real estate specialists, and then the donor's nonprofit, the one they originally wanted to get the gift to, receives anywhere from 90 to 98% of the proceeds. Now, these gifts of property, the donations can come from anywhere in the country. So I'm in Florida right now. Sam's in California. If one of his donors right there in California decides they want to give a property and it's upstate New York, no problem. If it's in Mexico, New Mexico, it doesn't matter. Obviously, out of the country, that would create a little bit of different of a complication, but anywhere in the U.S., any type of property, as long as it's not timeshare, deal with residential, commercial, doesn't matter. As long as it has equity, comes the first. Once the property is evaluated, it does qualify as a donation because it has equity and it's marketable. Then they draw up a draft agreement with the donor stating that this property is being given to the VFW in your local area. It doesn't matter who it's going to. Any nonprofit can accept this gift. And so any nonprofit can benefit anywhere in the country. So it doesn't matter who the nonprofit is, it doesn't matter what kind of property is, and it doesn't matter where the property is. Now this next screen has a bunch of very well-known charitable companies that are listed on it. Fidelity Charitable is the one that jumps out to me because it's the largest charitable organization in the country. But all these nonprofits have benefited from charitable real estate through our specialized nonprofit. United Way, AARP, Habitat for Humanity. These are all well-known organizations that do not handle their own real estate. These are some more. There's another list right here. Duke University, Hillsdale College, Georgia State. None of these organizations deal with the real estate. They don't accept the property themselves. What they do is they have a third-party nonprofit who takes title, processes the sale, and then grants them the funding. That's how they do it. There's some examples of real estate that's been donated just recently. This was from January 2021, a $1.7 million real estate sale that funded the MLK Community Center endowment. $1.7 million. This next one is in California. It's a $7.5 million real estate that's property is on. It's being listed right now. That's going to a nonprofit. The sale proceeds will be given to a charity. It doesn't even list which charity is getting it right now. And then the biggest one we've seen was last year. The Arizona Community Foundation received a gift in the value of $129 million from a real estate transaction. Now, this was not just one piece of property. This was a package of real estate that was gifted all at once. So these gifts are happening. I mean, donations to real estate are happening all over the country. They're happening every day. The question is why aren't you hearing about it? And what we want to do is help you get plugged in to be able to, if you're a real estate agent, to be able to get these listings, to be able to find these listings, and if you're a nonprofit, to be able to benefit from these gifts. Now, this next slide has a great example of champions in our community. We have a for sale sign in front of a house with a traditional for sale sign with the listing agent and the listing real estate agency. This is in the center. That's Jessica Peterson. She's one of our champions. And then on the left is Hallie Jordan. She represents the Haven Foundation, which is a nonprofit in Sarasota who we're affiliated with, who did the book launch actually in their facility. And her sign shows that 100% of the proceeds of this sale will be funding the nonprofit, including the Haven. And then off to the right is Cammie C.E. Baker, the founder of our organization. And this just represents what it looks like at the, when a home is being listed, the people that are involved, and a PR campaign that will be following it. So as a real estate agent, I'm not in real estate. I don't sell real estate. I don't do anything with real estate other than help nonprofits receive the gifts, the funding of it. But what I know is that if I were a real estate agent, instead of donating a portion of my commissions to a nonprofit, to be able to bring the whole gift for the sale of the home or the strip mall or the piece of land, to be able to get that whole gift to the nonprofit and be able to make a full commission, that's real power. And going forward, I would want to market myself to anybody in my community with this as one of the reasons why people would want to do business with me. So the solution to what we're talking about here, the reason that most of these nonprofits won't accept real estate is because they don't know about this third way. We are the real agents of change. We call it the ROC, RAOC. What we are is we are the only organization in the world that's educating and instructing and certifying real estate agents, financial planners, title companies. We're creating all the marketing, all the education to bring this to your community. There's a certified charitable real estate specialist certification that you can get through us. We have the system, the support, and the strategy to leverage real estate for real change to help you make money, making a big difference. Now, Cammie C.E. Baker is the queen of social responsibility campaigns, and this is the best social responsibility campaign that you could ever involve yourself in. You're going to attract over 80% of your marketplace by separating yourself from the rest of your very competitive field. You'll have access to the marketing, social media posts, library of information, thousands of hours that have been dedicated toward building a library of documents, of videos, of interviews, of all kinds of marketing that you can personalize with your information on it. We also have an international database map. It's actually an interactive map that features our certified charitable real estate specialists on it. Whether you're a real estate agent, financial planner, nonprofit, or maybe someone like myself who's not even involved, just a concerned citizen. And on this map, this is an example of what the website looks like. As you hover over these different areas that have the seal, each one of them represents a certified charitable real estate specialist. And when you hover over it, it actually highlights the name, their profession, their contact information, and a little bit about the person themselves. So anytime somebody Googles, like we've had one of our specialists just talk to us about how they were found by someone Googling them on this map. The Google search actually took them right to the map. And this is the book. Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not. This is, like I said, the textbook. This is the Bible for what we are doing to get the most information. This is the book you want to really read.